Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Child Care Career Professional Development Fund, CCPDF Grant Customer Service, Session 1. My name is Agnetha Wright, and I work directly with the grant within the Workforce Advancement Branch. So, welcome everyone this morning. And I'll turn it over to our grants team to introduce themselves before we begin.
Hello, my name is Christine Betley. I'm a grants program manager here in the Office of Grants Administration and Compliance.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Victoria Stinson. I'm a grants coordinator here at the Grants Administration and Compliance Office at MSDE.
Thank you, Christine and Victoria, for introducing yourselves. We are going to start this morning. As we all know, you're here for the customer service session for the CCPDF, Child Care Career and Professional Development Grant. And so welcome every one of you. Just a quick note, I will go through the presentation, and if you have any questions, please use the hand raise button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be able to call you and answer your questions. If you can kindly put yourselves on mute so that we have less background noise, that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Now, for this morning presentation outline, we will go over the overview and history of the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund. We'll also talk about the authorization under the blueprint. We'll go through the grant requirement, timeline, the application itself, the scoring rubric, and any questions that you may have. The overview and history of the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund. Now, if you're not familiar with the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund, this is a tuition assistance program for childcare providers in the state of Maryland to earn a college degree either at a community college or a university serving childcare providers that work in Maryland. Funding for this program is to earn a degree in one of the following areas: either early childhood education, elementary education, child development, or special ed. So it has to be in one of these related fields that are listed. A little bit history of the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund. It's through the Division of Early Childhood Education. This program has been administered since 2008. Currently, we have about 23 institutions of higher education, IHEs, participating in the program. This program has supported nearly 400 childcare providers currently pursuing a college degree, either a bachelor's degree or an associate degree or a master's degree. Those are the three areas that the fund covers. Last year, we have at least 75 childcare providers completed a college degree program under the fund. So this program is really has been successful. As you all know, the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund is part of the Blueprint of Maryland. And so what does that mean? Under Education Article 9.5-05, the blueprint includes the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund and authorizes MSDE Maryland to award college tuition, fees, and books to eligible individuals that have met the requirement, that have met all requirements to participate in the fund. Now for the grant requirement. Just checking to make sure there are no questions at this time before I move forward. Just want to check the temperature. Okay. For the grant requirement, this program, the CCPDF program, is designed for accredited colleges and universities with an early childhood degree program or related in the serving Maryland. The fund provides funding for childcare providers to enroll in college level course, and ultimately that leads to a degree. Priority for childcare providers who have not completed a degree prior program, who are currently enrolled in a community college to earn an associate degree, are transferring from a community college to a university to earn a bachelor's degree, or are scheduled to graduate within the fiscal year. Again, funding for CCPDF is based on funding availability. So please note, private colleges, universities that apply for to participate in the fund may only be funded at the tuition rate at the nearest public or college or university in Maryland. The CCPDF grant requirements. As you may see, childcare providers funded under the program they must meet the following requirement to receive funds. And this is guided by ACOMA 13A.14.09. What are the grant requirements for childcare providers? They must participate in the Maryland Childcare Credentialing Program at a level 2 or higher. They must currently work in a childcare program as a licensed provider or a registered family childcare provider in Maryland and work at least 10 hours per week. They must fulfill entrance requirements at the participating college or university. They must have at least 1 year of documented experience working with a group of children in an approved setting. And what does approved setting means? It's either a licensed childcare program, can either be a center or a family childcare provider. They must maintain employment as a childcare provider in a licensed childcare facility in Maryland while enrolled in college courses under the fund. They also must agree to complete a service commitment requirement. That service commitment requirement is after they've earned the degree at one of the participating college or university, they must give back in service to a licensed program in Maryland. They must also maintain at least a 2.5 GPA from the point of entering the program. Now, grant requirements continue. Participants who are enrolled in courses funded under the CCPDF must agree to commit a 1-month service for every college credit earned. Additionally, the service commitment must meet the following degrees. If the state of Maryland pays for an associate degree, they must give back 2 years in service. If we pay for a bachelor's degree, that is 4 years in service. Or if we pay for a master's degree, it will be 2.5 years in service. Applicants are required to schedule a meeting with a college coordinator before completing applications in Maryland One Stop. And Maryland One Stop is where students actually applied to receive funding for the program. Now, the use of funds. Funds under the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund will fund a part-time child care career and professional development fund coordinator based in the institution of higher education to administer the program, manage services with all college departments, i.e., your finance departments, the academic advising, etc. So this funding a part-time coordinator. Also, it pays for tuition fees and required textbooks for approved participants. And it also pays for the indirect costs, which must not exceed 10% of the total funding. Did I see a hand raised?
Agnetha, it looks like Carol Williamson has a question.
Hi, Agnetha. I just want to clarify because in the application, it's written a little differently than in the past where it says, I think it was the previous slide, participants who enroll in courses funded through the program must agree to commit to 1 month of service for every college credit earned. Additionally, a service commitment must be met for the following college degrees. I'm understanding that to mean that if for any reason they don't get the full degree, the service commitment is the 1 month per credit. But why does it say additionally there? Because that makes it sound like both of them are necessary.
To clarify, it's not both. If we pay for the associate degree, it's the 2 years, the bachelor's, the 4, and the master's, the 2.5. Now, however, if a student comes towards the end, applied in the fund towards the end of their degree program, then that's when the 1 month per credit will be calculated.
Okay, that's what I
Okay.
thought. I just saw the additionally, and it made it sound like it was both, but it's
No, it's
either
not
or.
both.
Gotcha.
Correct. Okay. That answers your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other before I move on? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that.
I have
Sir?
one. Dr.
Sorry.
Kimball has a question.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Kimball.
Can you just explain what you mean when you say service, give service back to the community?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So the service commitment is giving back service, meaning is working in a licensed childcare program.
Okay.
So the give back, so because the state pays for the full tuition fees and books, it is to retain early childhood professionals in the field, in early childhood field. And so what's the give back is when the state pays for that full tuition and fees and books, that student at the completion of the degree must work in a licensed childcare program. Currently, it's at least 10 hours a week.
Okay,
And after the degree.
And that could actually be the same place that they're employed at.
Correct.
Okay, I'm good.
Correct. Correct. As long as it's a licensed childcare program in Maryland. Are there any other questions at this time? Okay, so I'll move on. Next, we'll go through the timeline. So this is the grant application timeline. The grant was released on the 15th. And so the grant information guide and application was released. The next will hold the virtual customer service, which we are currently going through right now. And then MSDE will begin a review application on a rolling basis once the application are received. The grant application period closes, that will close on June 31st, 2023. And then Maryland will notify applicants of the award status. The grant period, the actual grant period begins July 1 of 2023 to June 30th of 2024. Yes, I do see a hand.
It's Dr. Kimball again.
Yes, Dr. Kimball.
The applications, who fills the application out? Is it the providers, the child care providers, or individuals that want?
Okay.
Yeah.
So how that works is, so this grant proposal application, the college will fill it out. This is the college soliciting the CCCPDF grant. So the college will fill that application completely and submit it. The next step is individual students have to apply once the college receive the funding. College receive funding. Individual students apply through Maryland One Stop, meaning that's where they apply and sign their commitment saying they are accepting this award. They send in the application to accept the award, as well as and showing that they've met with the coordinator. There are 2 application dates and deadline. For new students, they submit through Maryland One Stop March 1st of every year. So it's a cycle. It's once a year application that we take new students. That application is due March 1st every year. And for students that are already in the program continuing, those applications are due June 30th in Maryland One Stop. So what happens is, as coordinators from the college, once the college have the grant, the coordinators do the recruiting process of students and meet with students on a regular basis. when students are interested to apply, they must meet with that coordinator first to ensure that they are, of course, the best fit of the program and they understand the requirements of the program. Then they will submit that application in Maryland One Stop. The coordinator will sign off on that student's checklist and submit a completed application by the deadline. So that's how that works. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very well. And one more question, and it might eliminate me altogether.
Okay.
Does it matter if the college is not in Maryland, like the college is in DC?
Well, currently it's open to colleges. So if the college is in DC, yes, it's currently open to that. However, the students that are participating in the fund must work in Maryland.
Got it. Got it.
They must work in Maryland and give back the service in Maryland.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay? You're welcome. And if it's a private university or college, they must charge the rate based on Maryland's rate in regards to tuition fees and books. Let's see. Any other questions before I move forward? So the application overview. The application sections, there's the cover page, as you may know, as you must have seen. There's also the program narrative and the goals and outcomes. So the cover page must be completed in full. The program narrative must be completed with the enrollment and degree information, and applicants are required to set an overall goals for recruitment, retention, and students and graduates. Through the application section, you will see the implementation plan. Please refer to the GIG, the Grant Information Guide, to fully complete those sections. There's the service coordination section, and I'm not going to go through and read the whole thing because you have seen that. It will ask you to describe the system used to track and monitor students, and please make sure that each bullet questions are answered. It would also ask about the recruitment and retention to describe how the CCPDF coordinator will coordinate with the childcare programs to increase the number of childcare providers enrolled in the program. There's also the service coordination section. This is the section that's heavy on the with the coordinator. So it will describe the system used to track and monitor students that are in the program, provide the frequency that CCPDF coordinator meets with the student, to also describe the CCPDF coordinator, how they will respond to the needs of students, describe the process used in billing, tuition fees, and books. So those should be really clear for us to see how that process works with the college. Describe how the childcare providers will be supported to transition or transfer to another college or university. And how will students who require tutoring or additional support be supported to maintain their GPA of 2.5? Yes, Dr. Kimball, go ahead.
I'm sorry for all.
That's okay.
This role you speak of called the coordinator. Can
Correct.
you elaborate a little bit on that individual and how
Okay.
it's, yeah.
So when the college applies for the funding, part of the tuition fees and books that MSDE pays for, we also pay for a coordinator, a part-time coordinator. So this is the go-to person for students who coordinates that process. The meeting with the students, tracking their progress through the program. Because even though we pay for the tuition fees and books, we want to ensure there's that contact person that help guides the students throughout the entire process in the fund. So this coordinator is that go-to person that is included within the grant as proposed by the college or university. And that coordinator's role, as I did just explain, is the day-to-day meeting with the students. So it's a 20-hour a week part-time coordinator for the program to actually help the students through.
And that individual name and identity should be submitted with the application?
Correct. There's within there, ask for the resume and information on that coordinator. Yes,
And their 20 hours of compensation is paid through the grant?
correct.
Got it.
Thank you. Now I saw another hand. I think is that a Natalie Shore?
Yes, good morning,
Okay.
Agnetha.
Good morning.
I just had a quick question. I have to jump off. But in a previous slide, it said that the application was due in June, but then the gig says it's due July 31st. Can you clarify that for me?
The due date for the application is July 31st.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions before I move forward? Okay. Continue with the application section. There's the evaluation and evidence of impact. How will the applicants determine the success of the program for participants? And so that also should be included in the proposal. There's, let's see, I believe I've gone through the service coordination part of it. Service coordination describe again the tracking and monitoring of students. How frequent the CCPDF coordinator meet with the students. Describe the CCPDF coordinator will respond to the students' needs. Describe the process used for billing, tuition, fees, books for approved students. And then describe how childcare providers will be supported in transitioning from college to college or from the 2-year college to the university, the 4-year college. And then there's the section for the budget and budget narrative. The project's budget should be detailed, all related project expenses in a separate itemized budget within that. The service coordination, it should demonstrate the extent of which the budget is reasonable, cost-effective, and integrates other sources of funding. Meaning, if the college gets in kind, that should be probably included as well. All costs described in the project narrative should appear in the budget narrative and must have a corresponding entry in the itemized budget for that year. Now we're moving on to the scoring rubric. Before we move on to the scoring rubric, I saw another hand, Ms. Williamson.
Hi again. A quick question on the goals and the outcomes in that section.
Okay.
Goal 1 says the percentage of childcare providers recruited into the program will increase from, and then you use a percentage, but what is it a percentage of? We can't figure out, I mean, like we can say it will increase from 15 to 17 people, but what is I don't understand what percentage that is. A percentage of what?
Now, I'm not sure. Christine, are you able to answer that particular question?
It's on page 7 of the application, or maybe this is the gig.
I'm looking at I'm trying to look up to see what we're referencing here.
Yeah.
It's a good question. It says I'm reading in here. It says goal 1, the percentage of childcare providers recruited into the program will increase from blank percent to blank percent by June 2023. I can't answer that.
I believe
I think it's just an example, but
yes,
but it's
an example, and also setting a goal, because we want to see.
Can we just use numbers there? Can we just,
correct
the percentage? We can just put a number.
And I do want to clarify, Ms. Williamson, that does not have to be your goal. That's just examples of what would be goals. So this one here is the percentage of childcare providers increasing the number of childcare providers, and that's probably what it should say rather than a percentage. The number of childcare providers recruited will increase from some number to some number.
Oh, those are not.
Your goals may be different than that. Those are examples of.
Is that stated anywhere in here that the goals can be different? I just thought that part was something that had to be filled out. Okay, and that's fine. So we can determine our own goals based on
correct.
recruitment. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. That clarifies. And while I'm talking, can I quickly ask one more thing? And this is probably getting ahead, but on page 18, it talks about the GEPA, the equity statement. Is that just going to be in the appendices? because it's kind of like just out there, but I didn't see a place really to put that unless we put like our college equity statement, unless we put it in the appendix. There's no place, other really place for it.
Are you able to see that, Christine?
No, I'm sorry, Ms. Williamson, I was trying to capture your previous question. So what was it you were referring to again?
The GEPA, or I assume it's just basically an equity statement, the General Education Provisions Act. It
Oh,
asks
that's just a disclosure for us. You're not required to, does it, am I seeing somewhere in the grant,
It
grant
says
information
each
guide?
application must develop and describe the steps to take to ensure equitable access to, I mean, I assume it's an equity statement. That's what it looked like. But
I'm
it
trying
just
to
says,
find where you're reading that from. I'm sorry.
this is on the gig page 18, page 18, I'm sorry. I mean, can we just include our college equity statement holistically, or do we have to, does it have to be specific to this grant?
Oh, no, it doesn't. No, I mean, Agnetha, unless you have different direction from the program,
No, there's
this
no
language is a
different
little
direct.
bit different than the GEPA that I see on our other gigs. So I think it just needs to be that whatever the college's or university's equity statement is, or
Perfect.
how your institution is meeting those requirements of GEPA, the Section 427.
Perfect.
code.
So we can just include it like where we include the coordinator resume and all that kind of stuff.
Sure, as an appendix
Right.
would be great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you for that, Christine. Any other questions so far? So next is the scoring rubric. So the applications will be evaluated using a scoring rubric. The rubric includes 3 levels below. So there's the level 3, level 2, and level 1. Areas that will be that the criteria will look at the goals and outcomes, service coordination, recruitment and retention, evaluation and evidence of impact, budget, and program timeline. So as you may see, this is exactly what the rubric looks like within the gig application. And we just ask that each college look through the criteria and follow with the areas, because that's how it will be scored. So this is recruitment and retention. I see a hand up, Dr. Kimball.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I don't see your slides, and I was wondering if it was just me.
Can anybody else? Can everybody else see the slides?
I see the slides.
I see them.
Okay.
Okay, it's just me. That's okay. Move on.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Actually,
And
it's
Dr. Kimball, though,
exactly.
I
Yes.
just wanted to respond to Dr. Kimball on that one. This will be available later, and this is actually what we're looking at right now is actually an image from the
From the
grant
gig.
information guide,
Okay.
from the
Correct.
rubric.
Will you all send this recording to us?
Yes, this recording will be made available on the website, which was included in the link that I had emailed you earlier.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you. So the same rubric goes through. It's as Christine stated, it's within the gig, and then it will look at the evaluation and evidence of impact. So I'm not going through to read everything to you, but this is for you to have to see, and then we'll look into the budget as well, and look based on the 3 levels. Now the other areas are project timelines, and I believe that concludes the gig. So now, with that said, with that presentation, if you have any questions, this is a good time. I'll be able to, we will be able to answer your questions. So are there any questions so far?
Well, in the app, as we're completing the application, and if we need help,
Technical assistance.
yes, we could email or call who?
You can reach out. Yes, you can reach out. My contact information as well is over here. If you have any questions, we'll be able to answer those.
You're Miss Wright, correct?
I am Miss Wright, correct.
All right.
Agnetha, I apologize. Our my internet went out twice, of course, after the review and when you were talking about the new grant. So if I missed this, I'm sorry. Are you able to save? Are we able to save and come back to this, or do we wait until the whole grant is complete and then upload it all at once, similar to how the students are uploading their applications in the portal?
If your college have completed the application, I would say submit it. You don't have to wait till the very last day. So please, we encourage you to submit those as you complete them. If you've completed it, then please submit it.
Absolutely. No, I just meant as we're working on it, are there options to save within this portal, or is it really just one document?
It's not a portal, it's within that document. So you will download the response from the gig. You will see there both, and then you will fill it and complete it and save it to your computer. I believe you will save it to your computer and then submit it through as you can see, you submitted it through the CCPDF mailbox. So it's not a portal.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I guess I hadn't looked at it that closely. Okay. Oh, but it's not an email. It is in that within that website, or are we sending it as an email?
So I just
you sending it as an email. Go ahead, Christine.
Sorry, Agnetha. I just included the link in the chat that will take you to the grants website for the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund grant. And you'll see on that there's links for the grant information guide that Ms. Wright's been reviewing, and then also the link for the application for participation, which when you click on that link will download a Microsoft Word document that is fillable. You'll complete the application in Microsoft Word and then save that as a single document to email your submission. Did we lose her? I know she's having internet problems.
I think we lost her.
I just want to say, and this, Carol Williamson, again, it is, if you just try to fill it out without saving it, you do lose what you have if you try to go back to it on the Google Doc. So It doesn't automatically save the Google Doc. So like some Google Docs will just save, but that won't. So if that's important for people to know, if they start working on it and don't save it as a file to their computer, they're going to lose it.
Yeah, yes, that's a good point. And we do recommend that you download it as a Microsoft Word document and not use it in Google. And we will take the submissions as an attachment in an email, not as a shared Google document.
Now, somebody talked about a budget. By the way, I can see everything now. I went out and came back in. Everything's great. I see you lovely people too. There was talk about budget. What is it that's required from a budget perspective on the application?
So the budget application, you're required to include the coordinator, the part-time coordinator. So for that part-time 20 hours a week, we should see exactly what it is for that 20 hours a week. Also, it should include the tuition, fees, and books itemized. We should also see the 10% cost. What is that cost called? Let me go back. I don't think I have that in.
Are you referring to the indirect costs?
Correct. The 10% indirect cost should be included within that. So that should be all in that breakdown budget, clearly for us to see exactly what the ask is.
So the budget is a forecast of what we as an institution thinks that the degree or it's going to cost.
Correct.
For the student. Okay.
Yes. So it should be itemized. We should see what it costs for tuition, fees, and books as clear as possible so that we don't have a back and forth.
And these costs are relevant to the applicant as the institution. So
Correct.
you're going to include your costs for implementing the grant, including those tuition fees, as well as the indirect costs for administering. On page 11 of the application document, there's a brief table where you would complete with the description of what those costs, like a line item description of what those costs are for. And then you'll also include with that the MSDE's C125 document, which asks you to identify those costs within their budget object and category.
Okay. So was that clear, Dr. Kimball?
Yes, very clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Elisa, I know we lost you. Christine was explaining how, can you hear us?
I can, I'm back now, but I've dropped 3 times, so I'm sorry about that.
Yes. So Christine was explaining that she did include the link, and you should be able to download it in a Word version and complete it and save it on your desktop. And then you'll
Thank
be
you.
able to submit
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Thank you. I already have done that, so I'm clear on that part. I just wasn't sure. I guess I wasn't clear on how to submit it, but that
Okay.
makes sense now. Thank you.
Yes. So submission will go in the CCCPDF.MSDE@maryland.gov. Okay. And that's within the grant information guide as well for submission. Are there any other questions? If not, we thank you for your time this morning in joining us for our customer service, and we are here to provide any additional
I'm sorry. I got
questions.
one more
Yes,
burning
go
question.
ahead.
I know I'll regret not asking it. How much do schools typically get in a grant like this?
It depends. So it depends on your recruitment. So it varies depending on how many students that you have.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say you have, just giving an example, if you have 5 students currently that are starting, then you will itemize based on those 5 students
Okay. So the amount is based
on your recruitment.
on first, and when do you know your recruitment with the application? No.
So now you could have a projected, if you are brand new college, you can have a projected, let's say you're looking at maybe 4 or 5 students that are interested to start this year.
Got it.
Then you will project based on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you said the recording will be at the website.
Yes, the recording will be at the website. And just to follow up, Dr. Kimball, with your question, on the application on page 9, there's a section for you to describe how your coordinator will work with the childcare programs to increase the number of providers enrolled. So if you don't currently have enrollment, we're looking to see that narrative piece there as to how you're working towards recruitment, which would help assess the funding needs.
Okay. And how soon will the recording be available? Today, tomorrow, next month?
I think it might need 48 hours.
Oh,
It gets transcribed.
okay. I got you.
Thank you.
So if there's no additional questions, you feel free to log off, and we're here if you have any additional questions for technical assistance, we'll be able to assist.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.